Episode 12.
Oh.
What on earth with that? Those listening along will enjoy that, I think. And it'll be picked up lovely on our brand new mic.
So I can't mutter under my breath anymore.
I don't think so, but we don't know. We don't know how much. We don't even know if it's picking us up right now, really. We're a bit novice to this, aren't we? But Peter White from Coffee Pods and Wads, he sent us these on the 3rd of January. They just turned up. Every time we chased Irish post office, they said, yeah, we've just not got around to sending them yet.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, so they knew they had them. They just couldn't be arsed and they didn't mind telling us about it.
Oh, so. I thought they were coming by a horse and cart.
Yeah, so I'm not meant no jokes about Irish since my family's all Irish. Well, half of them are.
Right.
So I'll not say it's out to do with them because, to be fair, Royal Mail is shit and all there in this country.
Yeah,
so people in glass houses and all that. But yeah, becoming
so what
more.
We're talking about today?
Just having a dig at the
post office.
So yeah, just touching on that and the fact we're using some brand new software to record this, which is going to enable us to interview people, or me to interview people online. You're buzzing to be out at road for them, aren't you? So yeah, so that's that. We did the last podcast I did was with Hornsey, and man went deep. So
look forward to listen to that one.
Yeah, it's a good listen. He's like, he opens up about everything. It's really interesting. Like when we got into it and like really got him going, he was like, he just wanted to talk about everything, and he's had such an interesting life, and he's done some amazing things.
Yeah.
And then culminating in the road that he did recently, just 3,000 miles. So if you haven't watched that one, go back and have a watch. It is our longest one, 1 hour and 21 minutes.
Is it?
And I'm telling you, when we recorded it, it flew. When we come to end and I looked at it, I'm like, fucking hell, 1 hour and 21. But it's already got over 90 views.
Oh, amazing.
So yeah, I don't know how long they stayed for, but as long as I get a view on
on
YouTube, I don't give a shit really. But yeah, it was really good listening and enjoyed chatting with him. Other than that, what we've been up to, we've had not much, I don't think. I always say that, but then we've like literally been planning everything we're in and into its life.
Maybe that's what it is. We've been planning.
Yeah, but we've done a couple. Been running ads continuously since the last podcast, haven't we? So like sometimes we're a little bit intermittent with ads in terms of releasing one if we've got something specific on. But now we're getting into doing the laser targeting ones, which we talked about last time. And we did a special Valentine's one that Joey and Millie provided.
They absolutely nailed that.
Yeah, the content for that was so sick.
Loved it.
So that was cool. But also then just running a continuous ad on Facebook now. So won't necessarily be about something specific. Like last time we had it with the throwback tees on. The one we just set going today is just for the proudly refusing to obey authority range. So just embracing the culture. I'm still a little bit, I don't know, I challenge the metrics a little bit, don't I? And you was really right. If it doesn't fucking say what it says on Shopify, on Facebook, I'm just a little bit, what's the word? I think like I just want to make sure it's working. And you can, whenever you try and speak to anyone at Meta, they don't give a shit.
No.
So it's kind of like, this is what it is, and does it work? And that's the difficulty I have. A lot of it is best guess. It's like you run an ad, you be consistent, you do all the right things, and then if you get an uptake in sales, you have to attribute that to that. You can't specifically categorically say this is because of this, can you? I think that's where I struggle with it.
Yeah. But since we've had that techie conversation literally just before the podcast and understanding the various nuances with Apple and Android and cookie policies and privacy policies and where things go, if you're incognito browsers, all that sort of stuff, then it's not going to track, and you struggle when data is so misaligned, which I understand. But we're putting extra steps in to see from a viewing perspective how many times it's clicked. We look at the back end of the hot analytics that we've installed. So yeah, I think you just need to put more touch points in and just be aware. So if that is a constant trend, the fact that the ad did well, thanks to Joey and Millie. Thanks because the ad did well, then the uptake has got, but like you say, from an analytics point of view, and obviously we're very maths based, conversion rates, etc. And we just need to figure out what the metrics are that we do track.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those, isn't it? Like when you're putting budget into an ad, especially as a smaller business, you want to see not an immediate return, but you want to be able to sort of match that against that, for example, don't you? Because you ain't got a complete like disposable income and money don't grow on trees. So every penny in a business is important. So if you're putting it there, you just want to know that it doesn't matter if anyone's bought anything as such. You want to know that it's just been shown to the right people and clicked on. And we've had a few challenges with it before. Remember when I sent set the ad up for the leggings and bras and set it to only show to females, and it only showed to males, and we went back and checked it, and we'd all set the settings right, complained to Meta, and they're like, oh no, we don't deal with that, it's tough shit. Like, wow.
But it's loads of stuff with advertising. I think the statistic is, at the moment, the way things are, you have to have seen the ad or the company or the brand minimum of 3 times before they trust you. So if you are running an ad to cold people, which was essentially what we said we'd do for the 6 months of not doing in person, it's our newest in person. We've just got to be in front of them 3 times rather than just 1.
Yeah.
So it's trial and error, because every brand is different, every company is different. So we just need to keep going for 6 months and then see where that takes us.
Yeah, I agree. And then more on the planning. So we've been looking today at the singles competition that we're going to run.
Yeah.
And that's not for single people, which I am if anyone's interested. It's more for single athletes. So we've ran the Defiant Games as a team comp for the last 4 years. Well, this will be the 4th year this year. And we're going to look at running a individual comp out of Forge Functional Fitness. We've got an agreement with the guys there to utilize that venue, which is incredible and can house as many people as we want, basically. In Sheffield.
In Sheffield,
yeah.
Sorry.
I always call it Rotherham as well.
Is
it
that
was CrossFit Rotherham.
Oh, fine.
And then it moved to Ecclesfield in Sheffield. Okay. So, but yeah, we're going to be looking at aiming that at, people might have seen from our story, but it's going to be intermediate and below. So we're going to have 3 categories. We're going to have a beginner category, a scale category, and an intermediate category. It's going to be qualifiers to make sure people are in the right spots. It's going to be very much a very hybrid.
It's a fitness event, isn't
hybrid
it?
Between High Rocks and what people might call CrossFit if they've got the license and haven't dropped the affiliation. It's like, yeah, it's going to be a mix of the two. There'll be a barbell, but it won't be like a sort of technical barbell movement or what you'd say a traditional Olympic lift. There'll be no rig or high skill. Well, there might be a rig, but you'd use it for wall balls as opposed to doing any of that fancy twirly shit. Just a good, honest test of fitness aimed at those people that just want to go and compete. They're not bothered about being elite. They're not bothered about like all that bells and whistles that come with it. They just want to go and test the fitness. Obviously, we're going to put it onto the highest standard that we do. You know, all the branding is going to be on point and Defiant Games. People that have been there have seen what we're capable of, but we put the emphasis on fun and fitness as opposed to anything else, and that's what we're going to do with this. And we think there's a gap in the market for it because there's like some really good elite individual competitions, you know, like Battle for Middle Ground, Put 'em On, and Graft and those types, and Rainhill. But it's like sort of, I don't know, it's like it feels much more sort of aimed at the elite, and then the others just make the numbers up. Whereas we're going to target the people that maybe don't have as, you know, big a story to tell, or they maybe not as sort of not as used to the comp scene. They might be the first comp if you're in the beginner category. Just something that just gears it at those people that want to come and have fun predominantly, but still test the fitness in a really, really difficult way, because the workouts will be tough, but they'll be accessible. You know what I mean? So that's what we're looking at with that.
Nice. I think that's all.
Is that all as updates? Oh, we've got a big giveaway coming, launching in a couple of weeks with GSN. So buzzing about that. GSN Nutrition, for those that don't know, do some amazing meals like I'm living on them at the moment. But we're doing a big giveaway with them where it's going to be a 500 quid giveaway where you get a couple of months worth of GSN food and some Defiant merch. So keep your eye out for that, because even if you are already on our mailing list, you have to make sure you sign up to that comp again. So don't think you'll get invited just because you're on our mailing list already.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, other than that, I think that's about it from our big planning session, Tip.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, the other stuff that we're going to have upcoming is we're going to be doing a series where I go around gyms in the local area to start with. Got a videographer coming with me, going to do the class workout on a Saturday, just have a chat with the gym owners, have a look at like the people there, seeing if they know about us as a brand. If not, like how can we get more ingrained, give them some things to take away and try, and just basically get out and about in the community like we talked about. And
you've been itching to get back on road, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, then weekends are long and boring. But yeah, I just like, you know, I haven't been out and about in the community for a while, like other than I've been to watch the odd comp. But it's just, that's been ingrained in me for like about 4 or 5 years. So what we've been trying to do is find a way to do that, add value to the community, but also add value to us and the brand, because it's all well and good being a member of a community, but it has to work both ways. So like I say, we're going to initially is going to be a 6-month track where we go to 6 different gyms. We're going to record an episode at each one that'll showcase the gym, it'll showcase the brand, it'll showcase the community, and then we'll have teasers and little elements of that. So it'll be like a series. There'll be an episode each month with some teasers along the way. So
Nice.
Should be good fun. Right. So we've got
today's topic.
The topic today is when nobody's watching.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to span quite a few different areas that we'll come on to. But it's like, who are you when it's just you?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get that part of your character and your personality right, then you're set up for success across the board. Because when nobody's watching is when it's just you versus you. Like, what can you do? What do you do? So we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail later on. We've also got a question from Stacey this week.
Oh, nice.
And her question, which I can answer really shortly, actually, but I think we'll
do
it a bit more detail. No, her question was, we'll do your top tip now, but her question was, I'm just setting it up this week.
Oh.
You set it up for later so that people keep listening.
Is that what it
Is
is?
your first one, is it?
Feels like it.
Yeah, it does.
So introduce 100.
Stacey's question is, we're both obviously really busy.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we both in our own right find time to do everything we're doing from a professional point of view, but then also have a personal life as well? My quick answer to that is I haven't fucking got one. But that's by design. But I'll come into it in a bit more detail and give them a little taste of what I've been up to and trying to remedy that a touch. In the laughing
in preparation.
Yeah.
Well, that leads me nicely onto my top tip, to be fair, because I've been thinking about that recently.
Seamless.
Do you know what?
Look at that.
So my top tip.
Torie's top tip.
Still not got a jingle.
We can get one. Now I've got all this fancy software. You watch me go now.
So if I'm nervous or excited. So top tip is to accept or look for help in certain areas. And that can be both personal or professional. So I'm only going to use this on my most recent experience that, like you say, things have ramped up. Obviously, we're busy in our own right. The gym's busy. And then the consultancy just seems to have taken another level, which is amazing.
Just interject there. You say it seems to have taken another level. You've done a fucking great job of that. When you look at where that were when you really started going through it, like about, 18 months ago, to where it is now. It's fucking incredible. So you send a little pat on back, even though having to be in the gear one for you. But yeah, nothing gets to where it's got without the graph. So to just say, where it is now, like you're not good at taking credit and giving yourself credit. So I'll do that just because I love it.
Thanks. But no, it's well worth it. And I've had conversations from various people in my life, especially in the last 6 months where it has got extremely busy. And they say, well, is enough? Like, are you happy at that? And I always think, well, for 12 months, I've absolutely busted myself for as well as I can in between trying to balance motherhood, any type of social life, which I appreciate. In previous episodes, I've told I've more or less knocked on the head for this purpose. I'm not going to do all of that to then go, all right, then, well, that's enough. So anyway, back to my top tip. It was evaluating what that was, writing down all my tasks and what they look like, and then said, right, what of those do I not need to do? Mm-hmm. And most entrepreneurs, I know we hate the word, but it's true, are perfectionists, because you will care more than anybody else.
No one does it as well as me.
Nobody does it as well as you. Yeah. So even though it's great, and the people, so I went online and I found 2 VAs.
What's a VA?
Virtual assistant. Thank you. Virtual assistant, and they have two very different strengths. So that's why I took both of them on, both part-time for now, but they will basically work as long or as little as I like, which is brilliant for me in this interim stage. It takes time to train them into close to the standard that I'd like, but it has been the biggest weight off my shoulders. And it's made me go, right, what else can I do? And I know it's silly little things, but like, for example, if you don't like cleaning, then look at getting a cleaner. Or if you don't like doing your meals, then look at getting meal prepping. If you don't like food shopping, then buy Gusto or Green Chef or whatever it is that you want to buy. So it's looking at those areas, the cost versus reward element of it. And that was for me recently, massively looking at the areas that can offer some help so that I can get a better, how about Stacey word it, a better balance between work, social, personal.
Yeah, and I think like the thing is that cost versus reward. You have to be really, really objective with that, don't you? Because it's easy to say, this is going to cost this now, so I can't afford it. Whereas Nige from the Entrepreneur Circle that we talk about a lot, he says, if the only answer is you can't afford it, just do it. And it sounds it doesn't mean that in a sort of really careless way. What he's saying is, what would you be doing if you weren't doing the cleaning that day? What would you be doing if you weren't spending an hour meal prepping? And they call it the £10,000 an hour jobs, don't they? So if you're stuck doing the £10 an hour jobs in your business, like you were, then how can you do the £10,000 an hour jobs? And the way your needle's turning once again now, because you've got rid of some of that day-to-day stuff that, and it doesn't mean derogatory, but anybody could do. Your skills lie on driving your business forward. Anybody can write a LinkedIn post. Anybody can update a social media post, but not anybody can go and have that conversation with a prospective new client and get them over the line. And that's the key. So when you think in business, I can't afford that, just think, well, what's it stopping you doing? And then in essence, you can afford it. And then as soon as you get used to those costs, they become absorbed anyway, and then you just move on to the next thing, don't you?
And I was talking to a friend not long ago, and she was saying about, like, you know, when you do get to that point, because you live within your means. Yeah. So whether you earn, you know, like a couple of years ago, I was earning half of like what I'm earning, as an example. But I feel no I don't go out. My car's still the same. My house is still the same. You spend to your means, don't you? To what you've got.
You now got a clothing business, so you don't even have to buy clothes.
I know. The most recent samples I'm exporting right now.
I don't like it.
No, I agree. Do I turn around?
So you can, yeah, it's a better look.
So this is very exciting, this one. But this has been like my baby. But you were right there. But we've got to try all these things.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
You were saying that when
about my friend.
Yeah.
And she was saying about, you know, how sometimes you go sit down and you go, bloody hell, I can't believe I've been paying that for Sky for so long. Or not for you.
Oh, I don't really say bloody hell, but that's from a man who said samesies. So I'll get back in my box and shut up. But yeah, you pay.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like you can go through your subscriptions and go, right, well, I don't need to be doing that. I don't need to be doing that. I don't do that anymore because that part of my life, I don't utilize that. So I do think that you need to reevaluate how much you spend. But then at that time of your reevaluation, you need to go, right, well, how
now what
is it time that I need? And if it's time, then what can I get rid of? Which is what I've done recently. And like I say, it's made a huge difference to me. Because I'm always doing a million things at once. A bit like I was talking and burnt my face with hair curlers.
Well, that weren't here. If it had been, it'd have been superb. But I had to just hear about that as opposed to witness it firsthand, which is a crying shame.
All right.
I'm just thinking about how much you laugh when stuff happens to me. Like,
well, it's true. I do. I always love like You've Been Framed. You know, when people fall over or hurt themselves.
The best.
It's just hilarious.
I like that middle ground on You've Been Framed, where you know they're not seriously hurt, but they've got hurt enough to not be an idiot again. That's my favourite.
Okay, yeah, that middle ground.
I used to record them all. I did that.
What did you?
Not old man VHS on Sky. And then when I had an hangover, I just used to eat Burger King and watch You've Been Framed.
Oh, what a treat!
No, I don't do either, sadly. God, those were the days.
Right, let's move on.
So, what we'll do before we answer Stacey's very provocative question, given my current state, will be when nobody's watching.
Yes.
So this, to me, takes a couple of forms, and I'd like to get your views on them as well. So one of the first times I heard this as an expression was Matt Fraser saying it. So when he's talking in a training capacity, when he said in one of the, I don't know if it was one of the documentaries, the CrossFit documentaries or something, he's on about the fact that everyone puts all the stuff that they do on social media, the fitness people, they document the training and stuff.
Like you.
And he said, yeah. I like that you put him in that bracket.
Well, you do document training, everyone knows.
Yeah, well, you know, what else am I doing it
That's
for?
True.
If it doesn't go on Gram, it never happened. But that's kind of what Matt Fraser was saying. And he was saying that it's all good and well putting all that shit on, but it's what you do when no one's watching that counts. And what Matt Fraser used to do, he didn't put any of his training on. He was in his parents' basement in Vermont just fucking grinding. And look what happened, you know. Yeah. Arguably one of the best CrossFitters that's ever lived. Well, not even arguably, he's definitely one of the best that's ever lived. So like that from a training capacity, it's like it's all well and good, you know, then people that post on social media put last round shown and all that just because it shows that they sold the salt last round. But what else are you doing? What are you doing that's actually going to turn the dial and really, really take you to the next level? Because you can't document all of it. So what are you doing when no one's watching? So from a training capacity, it's a good way of motivating yourself to finish that workout if you just didn't like. When I'm in the kitchen on my own, it's like nobody's making me do that. And again, I'm not saying I'm at those levels, but I will never quit a workout. I'll always push as hard as I can. whether it's going on Instagram or whether no one will even know I did it, because it's just, I've ingrained it in me to like get the most out of those sessions. Because to me, in all areas of my life now, I try and hold that true, that how do I act when nobody's watching? So when I'm training, like I said, I'll do that, but I'll take the fucking shopping cart back or the trolley back to its little veranda thing what it goes under, because you see them people just leave it in the middle of the road. You know, it's something that's not, it's not policed. You're not getting in trouble for that. That's just you. Are you a dickhead or are you not, when it doesn't matter? Like, how do you, and I know there's people watching in this capacity, but how do you treat a waiter when nobody you know's around? You know what I mean? How do you treat a janitor? You know, them sort of roles that people, I'm not saying the roles that people should look down on, but some people do, and they'll be rude to staff and things like that. Like, how do you act in those situations? And like, you could take it to any level and say, do you make your bed when you wake up? Again, another situation that's not policed. It's
so I find this interesting then, because like what you've just said, you've gone from, you know, how you now live your life isn't always how you've lived your life. Maybe some people never make their bed or never did make their bed and then did. So or they would sit on the sofa watching You've Been Framed eating Burger King, but now you'll do 2-3 workouts a day. What do you think is the shift for you to look inwards and go, right, how do I be better? Is it someone else saying something? Is it a health thing? Is it a scary wake-up call? Is it a book you read? What is it?
I think it could be many things. It could be any of those things. For everyone's different. But for me personally, I have an addictive personality. And I think that when I started doing the right things, it just snowballed for me, because I was like, how I feel about like, and we've joked about this before, but I've always liked myself. I've never been one of them people that hates on myself.
Can we just explain why there's a tea towel over the camera?
Yeah, so we've changed the setup, and it's quite on cue, isn't it? I actually said, didn't I? Because there's a camera there that shows us. I said, I don't know how to not look at myself. And that's what's funny about that, is that, you know, I'm just like that. I've always been.
I absolutely hate it.
And I'm not. I wouldn't say I was vain. I'm just very overconfident. But I'm not a dick with it. I just like who I am. I've always liked who I was. When I was severely overweight, I said to you, didn't I? I liked who I was. I used to look in the mirror and be like, yeah, not doing bad, kid. Like, I could barely see my eyes when I smiled. But like, and I've just always been like that. But what happened with me was when I started to do things and become better, it just snowballed. Yeah. You know, like I picked up habits I did 75 hard about 3 or 4 years ago, the first time. And I picked up the habit of reading. I'd not read for years. And then now I read every day. Like, I always made my bed because I like to tidy room. But like the fitness things and stuff like that, it snowballs. You end up like, when I joined Project, I'm around people like Elliot and Fletch that have got fitness ingrained in their life and eat better. So then you pick up them habits. And then what happens is you maybe only pick up one small habit. Mm-hmm. And then when you realize, well, the first thing I remember doing actually really positively was quit smoking. And then I quit smoking. And then, you know, after a couple of months, I started to get fitter, even though I'd not got that much fitter. I was like,
I can breathe.
Yeah. And it's like that. Then it snowballs onto the next thing and the next thing. And I think that everybody thinks that you either go from being lazy and doing nothing to being a superstar fitness fucking enthusiast overnight, but you don't. You got to put one foot in front of the other, make the small steps when nobody's watching, because it is just you versus you. You know, are you going in cupboard for an extra bar of chocolate at night? You know, you don't have to, only you know, but like the impact of that on you, and then the next decision and the next decision and the next decision. And when you start to make the right things and hold yourself account and take responsibility and take accountability, you feel better, so you do better. And like, yeah, I have literally flipped over the, you know, like if you looked at me 6 years ago to who I am now, I've still got my core values, but in terms of how I display them, my motivations, my disciplines, nobody would even think I was the same person. Like, and it's just by doing those small things and getting it right. And I think that how that looks for everyone else and what that first small thing is will be different from person to person. But the moment you do the first one, you'll do the next one, because it just follows on. It follows on. It's like, and it's the same with negative traits and negative influences. The moment you start going down that path, which I have in my life in the past, it's easy to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, I'll go out and get bladdered at night. So it's easy to order the McDonald's the next day. So I'm hungover, so I'll do that. And then it's like the next day after that, you're like, well, this week's screwed, so I might as well and it's that negative knock-on effect is just as, that's much harder to cycle out of than the positive one. A funny story about beds as well, making beds. Me and my sister were talking about this because she don't make her bed. Me and her are polar opposite. But she's not.
Spoke to her about this before.
Yeah, so she's not lazy. She's not a lazy person in the slightest. She grafts and she trains and she does all the good stuff. But we were having a conversation about it. I just don't see point because I'm going to get back in it at night. And I was like, well, so where do we draw a line with that? So I'm not going to have a shower because I'm just going to get dirty again. I'm not going to wipe my ass because I'm just going to have a shit again. You know what I mean? Where do you like? I think it's a slippery slope that if that's your reason.
But if she's never done it, then
yeah, it's one of them. For me though, I'd just say, why didn't you make your bed? I didn't fucking want it. Yeah. Not because it's going to get messy again, because then it's a reason to not do anything.
Maybe she likes things in a certain area that why unmessy to get back into the perfect spot.
Yeah, maybe
that's what it is. Yeah.
So I think like what you do when no one's watching is like, it's more to do with you as a person, because the moment you hold yourself to a higher standard, doesn't have to be the highest, but higher than the one before and the one before and the one before. The moment you do that, it's self-replicating. You start to do better things because nobody's watching. You're just doing it for you. Whether you're doing that extra burpee, whether you're not having that extra chocolate bar, whether you're taking your shopping trolley back to the thing, that is just you positively influencing yourself by doing things that you know are right and no one's making you do. So when nobody's watching is what determines who you become.
I agree.
And that's my topic.
Thanks,
anything you want to share on
that? No, again, something that I've done recently in the last 6 months is I've allowed myself time, which I don't have a lot of, and granted it sounds a bit extravagant, but it's only because I've had a couple of spa gift vouchers.
Yes, she is.
I've had a couple of spa day gift vouchers. So I remember Jodie saying to me, oh God, it must have been about a year ago. Her little boy was probably the same age as my little boy now. And she was like, I'm going to go to the spa on my own. I was like, what? Why would you do that? Whereas now it is literally the best decision I ever made to go to these spa days on my own. So I've decided that that's what I'm going to do for the reasons that you've just said. So obviously I try and listen to podcasts when I'm not having to listen to PJ Masks or Spider-Man on repeat. So as long as I'm not listening to that, then I do try and listen to podcasts. But obviously I do that into work, into the gym, which I'd listen to music and then back out. So time of reflection or time of deciding, like you say, how to make yourself better. But then again, it comes very much down to fitness and everything that we ever did with the gym. Like a lot of people think you need to live like this and then it's like this. You need to do 100 things at once in order to get the dream body or the dream energy levels or the dream whatever. Whereas it's not, it's small incremental steps, one at a time, and it's habit stacking.
Yeah.
So I think when you're trying to redefine personality or who you are as an individual, which like you say,
or who you want to be,
yeah. Is that time of reflection. And if you don't have access to a lot of alone time or quiet time or however you choose to spend it. So like I say, I started doing those on spa days or like a long walk or no, not even a bath. It annoys me in there as well. So the windows are small for me to do that. And by the time I think in bed, I'm going to think about that, I'm already asleep. Yeah. So I think allowing yourself time and then deciding what that one thing can be, but just focus on that one thing, and then do that for a length of time. If that suits you and it fits in with your personality and fits in with what you're wanting to achieve, then great, that one's done. So then you stack the next one and then the next one. So that's how I've started. Well, to be fair, it's been a long journey with it, but especially recently with those times on my own, I've really enjoyed thinking, right, what does the future need to look like? How do I want to feel? How do I want to be? Who do I want to be around? Who do I want to be for people to want to be around me? All that sort of stuff. Because the fitness thing obviously has always been an easy thing for me. Like I know if I turn up every day, I'll have good days, I'll have bad days. Like this morning, but I'll always do it.
Yeah.
And if I don't feel 100%, I'm not going to kill myself because it's just not worth it for me. But I will always, I'll never say, oh, just because. So for the fitness thing, it's an easy thing. But saying, right, I'm going to read a book every day or I'm going to go and do this every day. That's the bit that I struggle with because
it's a time.
Oscar might need me to pick him up or whatever. He wakes up an hour earlier when I wanted to be on the bike or go on a walk. But I have borrowed a couple of friends' running buggies recently.
Running buggies? What's a running buggy?
He goes in the buggy and I run. So you lose your arms for the run, which I don't know if that'd be better or worse for your core. What do you reckon?
I don't know, really. It's the
No.
first time I've heard about these running buggies.
So he goes in the buggy, I push the buggy whilst running. So I borrowed a couple of friends. I borrowed Charlotte Best first, and I loved it. And then another friend's done me one, which is a different one. So I'm going to pick my favourite, and then I'm going to try and take up running. So rather than saying I can't go out on a run or a walk because of childcare, I'll just stick him in, and I am the childcare, and I get to do fitness at the same time.
Look at that. And he gets to like razz around wherever
so go faster, which I found really rude.
Yeah. You try pushing it, little fucker.
I know. There's only about 4 kg worth of growth before he's not allowed in it. So I'm nearly at max.
Like, that reminded me of friends, you know, when that girl's dancing on Ross's feet and she's telling him to go faster and he's like, I don't know, on your feet. Yeah. Oh, we digress.
It's his.
So
that was my thoughts on it.
So like what you do when no one's watching is actually, it's still the things you're learning to take that time for yourself to start implementing those little habits that will make you better. So again, that's one extreme to the other. You're just maybe on the start of you taking your life and your profession to the next step by doing that when no one's watching. Whereas I'm kind of just in this, I don't have anyone that depends on me at all other than myself. So it's much easier for me to do those things when nobody's watching. But yours go to a spa, mine's do an extra burpee. So it says a lot about us both, doesn't it?
True. It's true.
So Stacey's question.
Yes.
So
what was it?
I'm going to ask you, you can go first.
Okay.
Obviously, we're both really busy. So she wanted to know that how do you navigate such a busy professional life with personal life?
Not well.
Yeah.
I think we've covered that on a few episodes, to be fair. I meet myself coming backwards. One thing I'm better at, which I used to be terrible at, was double booking. And that'd be by complete accident. My diary, as again we've spoken about many times in the past, my diary is a bit of a mess. But it's a lot better now. It is a lot better. It's more clear, and I've learned through making bad mistakes of like double booking, of looking 2 weeks either side when someone asks me if I'm free, rather than just that clear day. So it's it's tough. It is really. I find it really tough. I always, because I'm a world's worst critic. So it'd be like, right, I should be able to do more with Oscar. I should be able to do more there. I should be able to do more. So I'm always wanting to do more. The
thing is for you as well, which I think is hard that maybe people don't always see, because you work so much, when you have your personal life revolves around Oscar, but not because through duty, but because you want it to.
Oh, 100%.
So when you have time, when you're not at work, if there's something you can be doing with Oscar, that's taking priority over everything. Absolutely. Because you love it, don't you? So like, I guess some people, like, you know, when people don't necessarily do as much, then they're buzzing to get away from the kid for far because they might have been with them more. Whereas when you don't get as much time as you maybe want, you get enough, but you know what I mean, that you maybe want, you'd much rather do that. And if someone can come in and join you with Oscar and do the kids, then that's perfect then, isn't it? Two birds.
It's always the thing where you want what you don't have. So you want more of what you can't have or you don't have. Like, I chose to work. I chose to be a working mum. So I'm like a part-time mum and a full-time worker in the week. And then I try and flip that switch as much as I can for the times that I do. And I absolutely love it. And I love my time with him. But I absolutely love being at work.
Yeah.
So it is a bit of a balancing act. But as I've self-admittedly said in the last year, social life was the one that dropped. So I wouldn't say I've got it nailed on. I think it's a constant evolving process. So I'm getting better. But it's a lovely juggling act. Lovely juggling act. What about you?
Well, I'm kind of the opposite, where is I overnight when I decided I was going to try and really take this to the next level, it was doing all right. I decided I weren't going out anymore because that was my vice and that was the thing that maybe held me back. Because I'd happily go out partying and doing all that kind of stuff. I've done it my entire life. I've been that kind of person. And overnight, I just went, I'm not doing that no more. Literally overnight as well. Like, so that meant that, but it was all through choice for me. And that's where me and you differ somewhat, because I have the time to do what I want. Within reason, obviously, I've got my job and I've got this, but if I wanted to do something in an evening, I could. If I wanted to do something at weekends, especially now we're not doing the events, I could. Yeah. But I choose not to to better myself, because the stuff that I used to do at weekends was self-destructive and did not help me as a person, didn't help the business, didn't help any aspect of my life. Whereas now I'm choosing to do better things that do. So I've kind of accepted that, and I don't know if this is because of the culture in the UK, you know, most people, if they're doing it, they're going out for a drink. And I'm just not asked about it. Like I'll go and have a drink, like Pepsi Max or maybe a shandy, and then leave when people start to get drunk. So I've got no interest. I've done that to death. So I accept that people want to do that, and that's what I used to love doing. But now I've kind of decided that I wanted to do things that, like I say, made me better and made the business better. But like in doing that, like I'm quite lucky. I've never been a lonely person. I don't feel lonely. And I don't know if that's because I've got great mates that if I wanted to go and spend time with them, I could. You know, I speak to people all day, every day through my day job and through this. So I'm not lonely, and I'm not insecure. So I don't feel like I need the same things that some people need. But recently, like for the last 18 months, I've been like single, and I've never been bothered about trying to find a relationship or a girl or out like that, because I've said to you when you've said, aren't you bored yet? I've said, like, in building this, I'm giving this all my time and attention, and I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm not a good person in the relationship.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to.
And they do take time and attention.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy that's like, look, sorry, I'm doing this, because that will always take priority, because I've spent my entire life with unfulfilled potential that I am now trying desperately to fulfill before it's too late, because I am 42 soon. And I've just felt that that's not conducive with being in a relationship. Whereas recently, I've started to think, right, I'm balancing this well, I'm balancing my day job well. I've actually organically got more time by working more efficiently and smart. So I thought, you know what, I want to dip my toe. So I spoke to a few people about which dating apps to try.
Yeah.
I said avoid Tinder unless you want dick pics.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, I signed in then, obviously, but no one sent me any, so I'm a bit upset.
Which ones did we land on?
So I'm on Hinge and Bumble.
Okay.
Right. But this is where it gets fucking depressing for me.
Why?
Because it's a miserable fucking thing. Like, this is how I guess naive I am to the whole scene. I have not done this before, right? So I'm on these apps and I just get on like you do and start swiping. I'm like, and then I sat for a second. I was like, I'm just looking at someone's face. This sounds like I'm some kind of fucking moral high ground, but I'm as much of a dick as rest of them, don't worry. But I'm like, I'm just judging this person in 0.3 seconds and then fucking them up.
Yeah.
Like, that's just fucking brutal, isn't it? So I was like that. And then I was like, well, if that's how people are, it's like you're not giving anyone a chance. There's no meaningful connection. And like I said at the start, I'm not someone that feels lonely or alone or needy or needs all that shit. But God, if I fucking did and I were on there, you'd be jumping off a cliff, because then you'll get them like they'll match with you and then they'll not say anything. And there's one in particular, it's Bumble, where the girl has to message first.
So you have to match first?
Yeah, so they match and then they have to message first.
Oh, okay.
You can't message them. So they match with you, but then you can't do it. And then they don't message. So again, it's that sort of, if you were insecure, you'd be like, you know. And it's like, I've just
read a bit more, don't like
it. And then the other thing is, obviously, I'm quite honest. So bios and stuff have maybe not been conducive, but I don't want to attract no nonsense. You know what I mean? I'm unapologetically myself. So it's best you know that up front, or we're going to have a problem later.
I feel like video testimonials will do really well on a dating
site. That's the thing, and that's what I come back to with the dating sites is, so I'm in a difficult position now. I'm going to go back to just doing nothing and being happy about it like I were, and if I meet someone, because the only way for me to meet someone and develop a meaningful connection is face-to-face, because on paper, I am fucking boring now. I used to be a rate party boy. I used to be like...
Do you say that?
Well, no, because there's no opportunity to, they're all predetermined
200 characters long
bits and bobs. So it's like, when I started writing my profile, like, get ready, girls, I'm coming. And then it was like, oh man, I'm boring as fuck. I ain't got nothing to say. Got nothing to say, because like, when I've chatted to a few and they're like, oh, what have you been up to? Like, work. Oh, sorry about that. No, go away. Like, you know what I mean? It's just
they've got no chance.
No, and I said to you, didn't I? Yeah. I said, when I'm talking to these people, I don't know if they're boring or I am. Like, I just So for me, I'm in a very difficult spot, whereas on paper, I'm boring as fuck. In person, I like to think I'm relatively interesting. I know a lot about a lot of useless shit. Well, people are watching this, aren't they?
Plenty of them.
So like, it's like, but like, yeah. So the swiping thing's not working for me. Where would you go out if you weren't going out drinking? You know what I mean? You can't just go and hang around like a school or something.
I feel like we can open this out to the 20 people.
Maybe.
Please comment below.
Yeah, where do you go to meet people?
Where can Steve Beckett go?
If you don't want to get drunk and like,
and you want to meet someone.
Yeah, and like
art galleries. You don't like art?
No, I don't. Like, not bothered about hippies either. They know the knock about there, don't they?
Personality is we're going for. We're not going for a swipe.
No, but there's got to be a bit of both. Don't get me wrong. I don't. You know what I mean? I'm not. When I said that about the swiping thing, I get it. You do obviously need to be attracted to someone initially to then give them an opportunity to get to know each other. So maybe, yeah. But I've just found the whole process like I can laugh about it because I'm thick-skinned. I don't really care. I did it because I felt like maybe I should. I'm not desperate. You know what I mean? Like, so I've just found it interesting that I feel like the very thing that dating apps were created to solve have created a problem, have made it more of a problem. And I think that's a lot of things in society today. You know, when you look at some of the laws around DEI and things like that, they create more divide than they do. And these apps are for lonely people to feel less lonely, and it's making them feel fucking lonely because it's brutal and it's transactional and it's so easy to just dismiss. So it's some really good people, and that's when I was feeling empathy for people I didn't know by just swiping them after a while. Like, God, this is horrible. And like and again, like I say, I'm not being like virtuous about it. I'm just saying it's a very, I don't know, lonely place. And so I'd say to anyone that's on them, like if you're using them and you're not thick-skinned, maybe try and go out and meet people organically if you've got something to offer, because yeah, you want to hide into nothing with them. If, you know, like if you're just there to collect matches and likes and you've got thick skin, then it's the place for you. But I think if you're like, you know, if you're on the edge and feeling down and depressed about who you are and what you are, then maybe, you know, come off them and go outside, have a walk in some fresh air, maybe go to your local gym and just, you know, go and have a few drinks with your mates and see if you meet someone organically, because yeah, I'm on purely for entertainment right now because it is like, it's, yeah.
So in answer to Stacey's question, you're finding a better, or you're making room.
I've got a work-life balance, and I've decided that, yeah, this will always come first for me. And anybody that whether that's a friend, a family member, or a potential bird, like, they need to understand that, because if they don't, they're always going to be disappointed, because I've done a lot in my life and I've wasted a lot of my life, and that's fucking over, and it's time to like really get knuckled down and see what we can do. So yeah.
Okay.
Done?
I think so. Smashed it.
Bang.